Welcome to the ultimate guide for how to set up a successful baking business. In this video, I'm going to be giving you every single one of my do's and don'ts for making sure your baking business is as successful as possible. Coming from someone who set up a baking business in the middle of COVID and managed to see it succeed. I'll tell you a little bit about my story, whether I still own a baking business or not. By the end of this video, you will be completely ready to set up your own baking business and see some great results. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get straight into it. A little bit of context about me and if I still have a baking business. I started my baking business, Soph's Goodies, in 2020, right in the middle of COVID. In the UK, there was an absolute boom of postal bakes. You could literally send them from Cornwall to Scotland if you wanted to. That was the sort of popular thing to do at the time. It was sort of like a golden ticket to success in the baking world, and also the way to still make a profit in COVID because obviously everything shut down. I sold my bakes for about 2 to 3 years alongside doing a law degree, and I would go to markets, I would sell online on my website. I did really well, to be fair. I will explain how and why momentarily, but unfortunately I don't still sell the bakes for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I just realized that selling the physical products wasn't actually for me. I'm the kind of person who prefers quality over quantity, and I struggle doing things in mass proportion. I get very overwhelmed. Secondly, location. I didn't have a unit where I could go and do my baking off-site, so I was doing it at my own property, and again, I was struggling to find the sort of work-life balance. And now I'm a baking content creator, so I sell all of my recipes on my website instead in the form of ebooks, and you can then basically make my recipes yourself at home. So let's get straight into all the tips for how to actually make a successful baking business. The first one being, if you have sat there and you've decided, right, I'm gonna start a baking business, what do I need to do first? I would highly recommend being as organized as you can before you open. Try not to do things after you've opened because that can just make everything really chaotic and you're gonna forget things. Make lists. Lists are crucial for organization. So for example, are you insured? That is one of the most important things for setting up a baking business because God forbid, touch wood, somebody did get ill from your bakes, you are then insured legally if somebody did try to sue you. And secondly, get your food hygiene certificate. Sometimes, it can take a while for them to come out, but at least if you're on the waiting list, it's a great start. And also get your branding ready before you open. Spend a bit of time on your logo because that is the one thing that people are going to recognize you by. If you would like business cards, get them all made up beforehand. Maybe set up your business email rather than, mixing it with your personal email, just because one thing, it makes you more professional to customers, and secondly, you need that work-life balance. A lot of people, when they have a baking business, they make stickers. Get the box size ready that you would like to use for your parcels. I would also recommend doing a trial run for your packaging if you are going to be sending them in the post, and even just, how you're going to be delivering your bakes to other people. It's really important when you're sending bakes in the post how you package them. It can take a while to get that right. If you have any friends and family who live a bit further away, it could definitely be good to almost do a little experiment and see how they fare in the post. Another good thing to do as part of your organization is buy a massive roll of bubble wrap. You're going to be going through that very fast if you're selling them in the post. Also, you want to get some cellophane plastic wraps for your bakes, especially in the post, just to keep them fresh. I'll see if I've got one left from back in the day. So I still have these left from my baking days, but these, you can get them in all different sizes, and you peel the red bit off and you seal the actual plastic, and it keeps the bakes really fresh for longer. Because obviously if you just package them as they are, they're going to go hard and dry, and then by the time they get to the customer, they're going to be inedible, I think that's the word. You can get them from eBay, Amazon, places like that. You can buy them in bulk. Think of like a really strong color scheme for your logo, your business cards, your stickers, your packaging, make it all look really sort of put together. Just those little touches can make people really want to return back, especially if someone's purchased as a gift. These things really do go far. Let's talk about probably the most important point of this whole video, and in this day and age, that is the importance of marketing and social media. For me, I would say that was the main thing that helped me succeed. Like I said before, when I started my baking business, everything was in COVID, so everybody sort of communicated online anyway. I feel like there was a massive spike on social media. I started posting videos and pictures of my bakes. When I tell you, the response was absolutely amazing, and people honestly love eating with their eyes. It's a phrase for a reason. You look on your screen, you see something absolutely delicious and you think, I want that. Put it this way, when you become a business owner for any niche, you basically become a man of all trades. You'll be the baker, the marketing person, in charge of finances, repairs, cleaning. You're basically everything. So you have to do everything, and you have to think of so many different things. Having a marketing / social media strategy is very important because you can't really just post anything. You have to sit and you have to think. In my niche, a lot of people are making the same thing. What can I do differently that's going to make me stand out? Because that is what's going to help you. I remember I created these Percy Pig Rocky Roads, and they really did well on Instagram because nobody had seen anything like that before. People are going to like you you because you're going to be unique. That's what you're going to bring to the table. And then when you're posting these unique ideas, people are going to see them and think, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. Because the aim for your baking channels is to get followers, because that will in turn create a community, and then in turn again it will create sales down the line. Another bit of marketing strategy for you. What's really working on social media at the moment? Photos are working really well at the moment. You know, you've got carousels where you swipe through all the pictures, but the one thing that's going to really help you is creating reels or TikTok videos. Let's just say you were making a batch of brownies. The best thing you can do is just film the process and post it online. I remember for me, what worked really well was time-lapse videos, because they were quick and easy, they're satisfying. I sort of noticed that was like my thing, like my niche, and I went from there. When you first start posting, it's going to be a bit of trial and error. You're not going to know what's going to work straight away. You have to try a few different things. You could try talking videos with voiceovers, tutorials, you know, quick short videos, photos, carousels. Try a few different things, and also a combination of different things to see what works best for you. But yeah, when I tell you that social media is literally key to having a successful baking business, I am not even joking. It is basically everything. It's basically everything. Social media content and marketing are obviously slightly different. They sort of merge. Also, you've got to be thinking about ways to actually entice people then from the socials to your website, for example. We'll get into the website part in a minute, but a few bits about marketing. A really good psychological tip sometimes is to always do things with 99p at the end, so it always seems like things are a bit lower. So let's just say you sold something for like £9.99 rather than £10, £1.99p. You could do bundle discounts. You could be saying on your social media, buy these and get this free, or you could do get 5 bakes for £5.99, for example. I'm just plucking numbers out of my head. If you do bundle deals, people are more likely to buy. You could do discounts around seasonal things. You know, just finding little things that will make your customers click links to your website and think, oh, that's a good deal, I'm gonna go have a look at that. Have a little discount codes like the name of your business. You could do use Soph's Goodies for 10% off the website for a limited time only, because then people think, oh my gosh, I have to go to the website quick while the discount lasts. Again, that will come with time, practice, and trial and error. But as I said, these things go hand in hand. If you're doing really good social media content, that's going to create lots of demand. And then if people see that you've got a discount code, marketing comes into play, and then boom, you've got sales. Get that strategy in place and you'll be flying. The next thing you want to think about if you would like to have a successful baking business long term is the costs. Why can't I say that properly? The costs. Costs. If you're living in the UK right now, and I think this is also a global issue as well, but the cost of living at the moment is bad. So everything's, you know, super expensive. Shrinkflation, it's all a huge problem. I could rant about it for ages because it just makes me upset. But if you would like to run a successful baking business and make sure that you break even, more importantly, you're gonna have to keep those ingredient costs low as you can. You know, and also there's other costs to consider which you need to also, you know, think about. Electricity, how can I make sure that I don't have my oven on all day? Maybe you can batch bake, have a few things in the oven at once, water, you know, things like that. Best thing to do is keep all the receipts, because if you do register as a business, self-employed, you can then have those as tax deductions. Get like a big binder and just keep everything. The best hack for keeping ingredient costs low is about where you're getting your ingredients from and buying some items in bulk. You might just think it's just food ingredients that you have to buy, but it's actually not, because you might have to buy like cleaning products. There's so much to buy and think about. When I was doing my baking business, I would always go to budget-friendly supermarkets for all of the staples, and then for anything branded, obviously I would have to go and get that from supermarkets that stocked them. Eggs, flour, butter, milk, sugar, cocoa powder, icing sugar, absolutely all those things, they mainly taste the same wherever you go. A few things are slightly different, like cocoa powder, because obviously if you pay more for it, you're gonna get better quality in some things like that. But these supermarkets have absolutely great options, which I think do the job just as nicely. It keeps your costs low, meaning that you can make a profit. So for example, I would sometimes go to Aldi and Lidl. My preferred shop was Aldi. I just absolutely loved it. And also a good thing to do is you can shop around and find the cheapest things. Maybe one day, I know it might be quite boring and tiring, but you could go to a few supermarkets, have a look at all the prices for the same item, so flour, butter, sugar, the main expensive ones. See how much it costs in a few different supermarkets and figure out where you want to buy it from. You could also get a Booker's or a Costco subscription and get your butter from there, because it is cheaper in bulk. But if you're not buying absolutely huge trolleys full of stuff, then Aldi and Lidl are great. Because also sometimes it's not feasible to buy stuff in huge amounts of bulk if you haven't got the storage. Be smart with what you're buying, basically. Don't buy stuff that you're not going to use, and you should be able to keep the costs relatively low. So then when you're actually putting a price on your bakes, you have to then consider all of your costs on this side and think, what do I price my bakes that's fair to customers that also means I'm going to get a profit and not be at a loss? This bit can be quite tricky, and for a while I feel like I was only just breaking even because I didn't want to put the price on my bakes too high, because then obviously people, you know, might not buy them. Again, in a cost of living, it's difficult to justify sometimes extra stuff. I would personally say not to go over £4 per bake. Depends really what you're selling. For a standard brownie, I think £3.50 is a reasonable price. Sometimes you could do more extravagant extravagant stuff like a huge cookie pie slice, maybe then £4.50 would be justified, but you don't want to set your prices too high and then not get any sales. That's a good sort of ballpark figure. I think I also used to do a deal which was like 4 for £10. I think that worked quite well, and I still felt like I got a good amount of profit from that. Definitely something to sit down on an admin day and just have a really good think about. Side note, which is also similar to the social media stuff, is like I said, I've just got written here on my notes, how to stand out from other people, create something unique but follow trends where necessary. In the baking world, it's really helpful to keep up on social media, follow other baking accounts, and have a little scroll through every now and then and see what's trending, because sometimes there can be a huge viral trend, such as the Dubai chocolate thing. And although it's good to be unique and original, it can also really help to jump on the bandwagon occasionally and do your own spin on something. With the Dubai chocolate thing, everybody just went crazy with that and was making like Dubai cheesecakes, Dubai brownies. I did Dubai fudge, because that can obviously then help show what's unique about your account and your bakes. It can be sometimes hard to come up with things that haven't been done before, and sometimes things have been done before, but you can just do your own spin on it. What you're really hoping for with a baking business is a viral video, especially if you want to do, post or bakes. A lot of the time, if people like what they're seeing, they're gonna click on your website and then maybe even buy something. So as many viral videos as you can get is really gonna help just get you out there, get you recognized. I remember I saw some people putting like crisps in cookies, and although that's so niche, something like that is gonna go viral because it gets people talking. Post that content and see where it leads you. Don't forget to put hashtags, and don't forget to do keywords in the videos. I would say, so that you don't burn out, try and do like at least one video a day. If you can do more, that's absolutely great, because you're gonna get that momentum going. Another thing you could do to stand out from other people is, show your personality, because there's only one of you. Tell your story, why you started baking, why you're selling bakes. But sometimes it's great because people relate to another person. If they can see you, it can help them connect with you. Yeah, because I've just written underneath that, create a community equals loyalty. I'm gonna move on to this in a minute, but let's just say that you go to markets and you sell your bakes there, and you go to the same market every week, for example. People are gonna start remembering you, and if you chat to them, you chat to other business owners, it just creates that nice sense of community, and then people are gonna wanna buy from you, and it just becomes like a loyalty thing. It's a really nice thing to do. Don't hide behind the screen, and don't hide behind the bakes. I've written here, change the menu up seasonally to entice new customers and keep current ones intrigued and excited, but also keep some staples all year round. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but it's really important to have like a menu when you have a bakery. Otherwise, you're just gonna get really overwhelmed making like 1,000 different bakes. But the menu does occasionally need to be changed up just to keep people excited. However, it's also good to have a few staples that you have all year round. Maybe they're best sellers and you don't want to take them off the menu, or maybe they're just like staples, like a classic cookie, classic brownie, you can't go wrong. Seasonal trends are a very important thing. If I was doing it again, I would plan out a Halloween menu, Easter menu, a Valentine's menu, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Christmas. That's when a lot of people are going to be buying gifts. I feel like that's the kind of times of year where people like sweet treats a bit more. Go crazy for Christmas. Do a lot of Christmas baking, Christmas trees, gingerbread men, Santa hats, things like that. If you don't really get involved in the seasonal trends, you almost get left behind. I feel like you have to sort of go with the flow, go with the trends, and keep up with what's popular at the time. And the good thing is, if you filmed some Easter or Christmas bakes, you can then repurpose that content each year. You have then got batch content. Let's move on to markets now. If you've opened a baking business, going and selling at markets can be a really, really good thing to do for a couple of reasons. There are a few downsides, which I will go into. This is really good to help you weigh up if you want to do markets or not. Okay, let's just do the negatives first, because I can get them out of the way. Selling at markets is an investment, because you have got to buy all the equipment to look professional. I have a really bad story of when I drove all the way to Exeter for a market and I didn't realize how underprepared I was. I turned up with a few little like mini shelves, and all the other markets had massive glass cabinets. I just honestly looked pathetic. But if you don't do these things, you won't learn and you won't grow. The best thing I could say is go to a few markets, see what kind of stalls other people have got in your niche, and then sort of buy similar things. Definitely get a glass cabinet, one of those huge ones where you can put all the bakes behind it. You don't want people touching the bakes. Kids are quite likely to come up to the bakes and generally just pick them up, like it's gonna happen. So you want to have that glass screen for hygiene reasons, and it just looks better because you can write on it, what all the little bakes are. It makes it look really pretty, and it makes you look professional and like your stuff. You've got to get, tongs, bags. Somebody might want to buy like 6 bakes. They're not going to fit in a little bag, so you've got to buy some boxes. Big tubs for transporting the bakes so they don't get damaged on the way. It's a lot to think about. You want to get like a big banner with your business name on it, your logo, maybe some business cards to put out the front. I used to have like a little QR code you could scan and it would take you to my socials. The benefit of going to a market is obviously instant sales. Well, depending on the weather. You could do some markets and get absolutely hundreds of sales, or you could generally get like 5 people come all day, and that can be the reality of a market. I've been there. It's a very humbling experience, just sort of standing there hoping people will buy something. No one coming for hours, you're freezing cold, so it's something to consider. But like I said, on a good day, those markets, especially if your bakes are the stuff, if they're really good, you could sell out. I remember I did like a vegan little market every year at Christmas time, and I went home early because I sold out every time. It was great. But other markets, like I said, my first ever market, I sold like 4 things. So if it's thriving on the day, you will get a good bit of income. It's good to talk to people. Maybe those customers might have seen you online. They might have come specifically for the market to get to speak to you, buy some of your bakes. You can look at the competition. You know, everybody's really nice at markets. Everybody sort of buys from each other. It's a really nice community thing. And also, you could be smart with which markets you sign up to. For example, you could think, I'm only going to do Christmas markets and maybe some summer markets, but I'm not going to do it, for example, in January or October, like the colder months. If you really wanted to go even further, you could get one of those like horse boxes that people do, and they like convert them into bakery stalls. They're really cool. And the good thing about those is you won't get wet and cold, and you can transport them wherever you want to go. And you can also sell coffees and stuff because people like to buy beverages too. Let's move on to if you're solely selling online. If you're selling online, you have to have a very good, easy to use website that customers can literally just come on, add the bakes to the basket straight away, input their little discount code, and then go off. You don't want to have loads of confusing things where it's just not clear how to buy the bakes from your site, and then people just get really stressed out and think, oh, this is too much effort, I don't want to buy from you anymore. But also another thing, you don't want to have any added costs, like how much those bakes are when they get to the till is how much they're going to be excluding delivery, which I'll get onto in a minute. I did do my website with Shopify. It was the only one that I could really figure out how to do. You can get someone to build a website for you if maybe you don't want to do it yourself. It can be quite time consuming, and also if you have like a website designer, it can make it look more professional. I did do mine by myself just because of budget, but have your branding colors, your logo, things like that. Maybe do like a little about me section and just make it look really good, because if people are coming from social media, Instagram, TikTok, you just want it to be an easy transactional process. You're then going to have to send your bakes through the post, and when I tell you, you have got to think so carefully about which postal carrier you use. It's absolutely everything. I have tried all of them, so I can basically tell you which ones are good. We've got Royal Mail, Every, and DPD. I think they're the main ones. There are other ones that you can do. The best one you can really do is DPD for 2 reasons. One, they do next day delivery, so your bakes are going to come fresh. Secondly, they're just not the kind of business that are just going to chuck your bakes at somebody's house. They have a good reputation for ensuring that things get to you safely, whereas obviously sometimes with Every, they literally just lob it. I remember I had a customer once say to me like, oh, every man's just like thrown it at my bin and it's completely broken. And that's another thing. You are then responsible, even if it's not your fault, how those bakes arrive at the customer's house, you have to take that blame, which can actually be really disheartening because bakes can go missing, bakes can arrive broken. Even though you sent them off in the best way possible, you then have to maybe send a replacement or a refund, and that can be really, really rubbish. Problem is the cost of the actual delivery. You then have to sit there and think, am I going to charge the customers for delivery, or am I going to take that cost? And unfortunately in this day and age, it's not viable to take that cost yourself, because, you know, let's just say you did 5 orders and you lost £25 on delivery. That's not going to work. A lot of customers, oh no, my ring light is died. Let's just power on without it. If customers like your products, they are going to pay for the delivery. I mean, you might get a few people grumbling about it. If you know full well that you have got the best delivery service where your customers are going to get their bakes in one piece, you've got to back it. You know, if you can get them to your customers from Cornwall to maybe Birmingham the next day with DPD, it's a good decision. If you just sort of kindly explain why it costs that much, people do understand, and people do like supporting small businesses as well. Next one, investing in good equipment is crucial. You buy cheap, you buy twice. I've learned the hard way. Make sure you've got a good set of spatulas, balloon whisks, trays, lots of different shapes and sizes of trays, mixers. It is really ideal to have a stand mixer, because if you're doing it all by hand, you can't multitask. Stand mixers take away that load and the stress, so definitely get one of those if you can. Mixers, no matter the price, are a good investment basically. You could get a cheaper one to start with and obviously then maybe save up for a better one. Another thing you want to do when you have a bakery business is make sure you're able to compartmentalize the business and your personal life, especially if you're running it from home, because obviously that's the most common thing to do at the start, and then if things obviously take off and do well, you can then get a unit. But I wasn't able to do that. There were some times where I felt like I couldn't shut off because it was like the business had sort of taken over. I'd look over there and there was boxes, and I'd look over there and there was bakes, and then I'd look over there and there was like packing products. So you have to really, in my opinion, devote a certain area of your property to the business. For example, if you have a garage, maybe you could do packing from there. Just have certain areas like an office room or something to just really have as your business space. You really, really want to have that boundary. And that's the same with social media as well. If you have a business social media, you want to just log out when you've done your posts and just go back to relaxing, doing other stuff, and just think, I'm not in work mode right now, my work hours are over. I would definitely recommend having set work hours if you can. It's a bit more difficult with social media, but maybe you could just post your videos from between 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then after 6 p.m. but like, I'm not going on my account again if you don't want to. If you do, obviously go for it. But if you find it really stressful and overwhelming, you can lose passion passion for it, which is obviously not what you want to do if you want to have a long-lasting, sustainable baking business. And then let's just quickly do a few things not to do and some of the harder parts of running the baking business. So getting sales at certain times of year, I'm just going to tell you what month of the year is the hardest for getting sales, and that is January. You know, people have spent their money at Christmas. A lot of people start the new year dieting. Things you could do to get around that, I would say, is definitely do some promotional offers, even do a few healthier bakes to tap into that market. Think of ways around it. Now that you have that information, you can sort of be prepared for it and think, okay, I know that's going to be a slower month for me, so I need to sort of make more money in December to cover the cost of January. That's why the seasonal stuff is really important, because a lot of businesses take their income in those months, and then that can keep you ticking over for the quieter months. Sometimes people can think that like sending out free parcels to maybe content creators, influencers can help boost your sales, but actually in reality, I've noticed and seen a lot of other people talking about it on social media, it doesn't actually lead to what you would like it to do. An influencer could shout out your product, but it doesn't automatically mean it's going to lead to sales, and then you have then lost out. You've made a batch of bakes, which is your time, ingredients, electricity, water, and things like that. You've paid for the postal cost, and it hasn't actually led to anything beneficial. So sometimes things like that just don't really pay off. One thing I would say would be a good thing to invest in is maybe to actually buying customers. You could leave a little thing in the box that says, you know, please do leave a review on social media. I'm a new business and I'd like to get the word out there. And if people genuinely like your product, they'll spread the good word in person as well. They'll tell other people about it. The best thing you can really do is have, you know, local foodies buy from your page, because a lot of foodies have like social media accounts and they do reviews, and I feel like that's better than sort of giving it away for free, because these people have actually bought it themselves. I think it's more credible. Another thing I would mention, do not work 24/7. I know I've said that before. Shut off when you can, have those working hours. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but try not to be baking really late at night, because you can just burn yourself into the ground. Breaks are important in any workplace. If you're self-employed, you have to be your own manager and you have to manage when you have breaks. On that note, I think that is everything to achieve a successful baking business. I honestly loved having a baking business. It was so fun. If things were different, I would love to still do it, but I would love to have like a physical shop where people could come and buy them from. I didn't really enjoy doing it all from my house. Everyone's got to start somewhere. I remember my first ever market was a car boot sale, and like I said, I had like no sales. Starting is humbling, but the successful ones, don't give up. That's another tip. Don't give up, because you never know where something might take you. The people that you meet along the way that support your business are honestly the loveliest people, and they're the ones who are keeping your business going. I still talk to people online now who were some of the first people to ever buy my bakes like 5 or 6 years ago. When people stick around, it's just the nicest feeling, and you just want to like give back to them. Sometimes you can do giveaways. That's a good way to actually get interaction sometimes. The community you make along the way is just so special, and it just makes going online onto your little corner of the internet such a nice place. People really do show up for small businesses, and it's just such a lovely feeling. So yeah, if you are thinking of doing it, I would highly recommend just be organized, know your stuff, and just go into it and have fun. Don't let it take over, and that is the way to sustain a long-term bakery business. I hope you have found this video helpful. Let me know if you do have any more questions. Just drop them in the comments. I could do a part 2. Don't forget to hit the like button, the hype button, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week for another weekly video.